So my demo is about TypedRoute, which is a new extension method and then a class for replicating this feature in ASP.NET, but using the expressions from Lombiq, this way it's fully statically typed. So as you can see in the bottom left corner, the results, it generates an identical URL, works the same, so there is no loss of functionality, but it is, well, for one, it's nicer to read, and it works with all kinds of refactoring. So in fact, just before this meeting, I made this little page to show it, and initially it was called Home Controller, and then renamed it, and then this got stuck as Home, but this renamed itself just fine. So that's one advantage, and you don't have to type out the parameter names either. So if those change, that's again useful, and it automatically serializes dates and numbers as well.
That's cool. I have a question.
And, okay, go ahead.
I don't want to interrupt you, actually. I thought you were done with, so go ahead.
No, just a few more small things. So at any rate, this is an extension method for that uses Orchard helper or HTTP context directly to be able to work with either asynchronous or synchronous actions. And additionally, there is a version that uses that works with our UI testing framework that uses where is it? At any rate, that there's this extension method. It's called goTo. Yeah. In the UI test context, that lets us go directly. For example, it's used in these methods that we have in built in for signing in directly and stuff like that. So you can use it for everything if you include that module, that project into your UI test project as well. And additionally, it also works with, no, that's not the right. This is the right control. So it works with the route attribute and the admin attribute. So it automatically prepends the admin to it with route parameters and like these types of arguments. Other types it just turns into strings. So that may be useful, but I don't think it's. I don't think you would use this if you want complex arguments passed, because you would probably serialize it to JSON anyway, or put it in the post context. And I guess now I'm done.
Okay, now I have the questions. So I'm surprised that the tag helper is not providing any sense for that or validating. Could the tag helper provide that?
There is some extent of support both in Visual Studio and Rider. For example, in Rider, if you want to, it provides some intersensitive start type, then it offers it, but it doesn't update. And yeah, I believe the same is for Visual Studio.
Here in this case, when you type ASP-controller, does it show you the types? Does it autocomplete, for instance, the types? So, and when you type T, okay, it shows TypedRoute because it's a controller. Okay, so that's good. Yeah, okay, because it shows you all the controllers here. So that's a good thing. And if you type something wrong, does it like TypedRoute 2. Does
well,
it fail?
This, well, I don't know. Nope. It just inserts it. You can see it in the corner. Just the gibberish gets inserted. Okay. So if this is just in the IDE, and it's basically handled pretty uncritically by the tech helper.
Okay, and
which
yeah,
is something that simply cannot happen in this version.
Interesting. Also, it reminds me of a project that was doing that for the earlier versions of MVC, I think. Maybe Bertrand remembers, but there's a guy named Fabrice Marguerite, a French one, who made a library like this. I never used it, but I think he made something like that. He will generate all the potential.
I have seen similar libraries, but mainly for all the ASP.NET. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention is that it autofills the area as well. Of course, right now you don't need it, but but for a different module, it's useful. And what it does is it actually looks up the assembly's attribute for module name.
That's cool. Can you show us the code of the?
Yes. Just a moment. It is. Okay, so it's pretty large. So what happens here is that we have a basic controller that you can just fill it by giving manually the type and the method info, and then we have a static method for creating it from an expression where you provide the controller using generics and the expression as a lambda. And then when that happens, we do some expression tree traversal to get the actual method call and the method parameters from the method info.
Okay, and maybe you want to cache that, because if you're might be costly to render the URL every time then, and you do the same job all the time. Like if you cache by type and method, like controller action, that might be a good idea to cache that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Looks nice.